I sold my paints, my easel, everything from my studio, all of my past work to get on a plane and go explore. So this could turn out to be the greatest or the worst decision I've made. But let me tell you where I'm feeling it's going right now and fill you in on what I've been up to. A few months ago, my family made the decision to leave the life we'd built in the US. Not because it was bad, it was actually really good, comfortable, known, but something in me kept nudging, at first quietly and then not so quietly, that there was so much out there that we were meant to go find. So we did the thing that terrifies most people. We sold it all: the house, the furniture, my studio setup, easel and the paints, the supplies I built over my 30 years of creating art. All of it is gone. Some of it was auctioned on eBay, some sold on Marketplace. Some was given away, donated. Others we sold at our big moving sale. I remember standing in that empty room that used to be my studio. We turned it into a bedroom.
And having this
House,
strange
the
mixture
first,
of grief and relief.
but mostly there was this freedom, this new way of thinking. Everything I'd leaned on to create with no longer was with me. So I had to start thinking of new ways to think about myself as an artist and my creativity. So this summer we've lived in hotels for 8 weeks, 11 different hotels, no permanent address, no studio, no easel. And I want to be honest, there were nights I sat feeling completely disconnected from the artist side of me, wondering how this is all going to come together in the end. Can I pull this off? Because it's a big gamble. I'm sure you can imagine if you're creative, so much of your identity is caught up in those tools, the supplies, your past work on every wall. It reminds us every day of what we've done and how we create, inspires us to keep going. And so when you strip all of that away, it's a really interesting feeling that is freeing and a little free falling feeling. Mostly what I noticed happening is the creativity inside of me was freed. There was no rules. Instead, everything I looked at, from light poles to the way that the railings curved and left shadows on the sidewalks, I started getting inspired by everything. Seeing possible supplies in found objects, in tools, in all sorts of things that I never would have thought about before. I would find myself up until midnight working on my laptop, recreating some old digital art that I'd had into new pieces that I can offer, revamping things, changing things around, giving them new life, and letting that creative voice still come and honoring it. And then almost by accident this summer, I have gotten to explore 3 different world-class art museums, and it has given me so much that I didn't expect. I have been so busy the last few years that I haven't taken time to just take in other people's work. The first day after we moved out of our house, Aspen and I went to the Art Institute in Minneapolis, and I just took it all in. There are so many beautiful pieces, and allowed myself to just get inspired by them. And I set a goal for myself. Instead of feeling like I need to react and instantly create, I'm going to use this time to just let the creativity build inside of me and just keep filling up my well. And that can be enough for right now. Anything that I do create, that's bonus. But right now, my goal is to just see the world with new eyes and notice. Later in the summer, we went to the Art Institute in Chicago. I stood in front of work by Jasper Johns, Norman Rockwell, Edward Hopper's Nighthawks, original art, even a Hockney original. I had spent years studying all of these artists in my art history classes, and it's something that I hadn't really cared about till my 40s. I didn't give art history much thought, and it's kind of opened up this whole other world for me, appreciating different styles of art and the times they were created, the context, all of it. And now looking up close at these originals and seeing the detail or the lack of detail, the pencil mark still left. It's just given me permission to, when I do create more originals, to let them be fully me. There is no rules. A few weeks later at the Buffalo AKG Museum, I got to study a Frida Kahlo self-portrait. And even seeing this giant up close details of a Roy Lichtenstein and seeing his pencil mark still on the canvas was fascinating to me. Here's what I kept noticing looking at every one of those pieces of art. I'm standing there in 2026. When those artists made those pieces, they didn't know anything about me, that I was about to come into this world. They did not make it for me. They made it to honor whatever they needed to do, their creative nudges, their patrons, whoever it was. But the power of art is so amazing because here I can be standing decades later, even hundreds of years later, looking at that art and be so touched and moved, sometimes to tears by taking those pieces in. That is the power of art. Those museums especially allowed me to shift my focus from creating to receiving, to just continue to fill up that creative well. I think the part about this move so far that surprised me most is I expected that I was losing some of my inspiration, that my creativity was going to be capped. And instead, it's been completely the opposite. I see inspiration everywhere. I'm noticing the things I've never noticed before. And it's really about me staying open and in the moment. And that has been my biggest shift. Freeing myself and just changing my perspective completely has been such a gift. So here's what's next. We are headed for an indefinite amount of time overseas. We're going to start with what we estimate is a year in Southeast Asia. We will begin by flying into Osaka, Japan, and spending a month there. After that, we'll visit countries such as the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, and probably others. We haven't figured out the whole year yet. We're really just waiting to see what we love about certain places and which places we hear about, which ones we want to go back to, all of that. We're going to slow travel. So our goal is to spend about a month in each place. There's a few that we'll just do a couple weeks, and that's okay too. It'll be amazing. And yeah, it'll be me, my husband, and son, who is 15. He homeschools, and we were able to do this while he's still with us in our house. And then before our oldest has kids, we had this window of time where we thought, if we don't do it right now, we're never going to do this. And so we are just going to take in some time around the world. I was able to allow my husband to early retire, and my business I'm taking over as the main income. So I am going to be using my art business, my Dare to Dream courses, all of that tying in with my graphic design, everything. And yeah, full force working, which I'm so excited about. It's an interesting place to be. As an artist, though, I have to admit, I am trying to balance this, do what I know in art, do what I need to do to make a living with art and design and my creativity, my marketing, all of that. But also really allow, I feel like I was so burnt out after completing college, life, just all of the things, that I am putting not a huge amount of pressure on myself. I'm going to give myself 6 months to really just build up and let myself also really try to relax hard so that I can reassess at that time and see where I'm at. And I feel like I'm not at the best place right now. I'm getting better now that it's the end of summer. But where I was in June, I was so burned out. And I wasn't in a good place to make the best long-term big decisions. And so I'm so grateful that we had been saving for so long that we could afford to take this time off, essentially, to just reassess life and make these big plans. And I'm really looking forward to what's going to reveal itself in the coming year. What seeing these these pieces and things and people and cultures from around the world are going to inspire in me. I don't know if that's going to be new art, writing, new coaching programs, new dreaming programs, all of that we shall see.
I think the biggest change in myself is just the fact that I'm going for it without needing to know the final result and not knowing how it's going to all turn out and what my final goals are is a huge thing for me. I like to have a list upon my list upon my list. So I have several lists going to make this all happen, but where the art direction is going to go is not one of them. So if there's one thing that this past year of planning and finishing college and selling everything has taught me, it's that creativity isn't about having the perfect setup. It's not about having a studio or the supplies or even having the perfect plan. It's about staying tuned in to what moves you, what draws you in, where is your curiosity. Follow the curiosity. So I sold everything I needed this year as an artist, but it turns out, funnily enough, all I really need is myself, at least for right now, to just tune into the artist side of me, the creativity. If you have ever felt like you needed the perfect setup or the perfect supplies, the perfect next colored pencil, more time to create, I hope that this video can just inspire you to know to just change your perspective and see things a little differently that you have within you. Go take a walk, go get inspired by seeing the way that the light lights something up. Look at things upside down, look at things sideways, change the color, the lighting. There's so many ways that we can get inspired by our everyday. I'll be documenting this next year plus as we travel, really on this channel bringing the creative things I notice, other cultures and inspiration, my life as an artist, what it's looking like, new art that I'm creating and how that process is unfolding. I have another channel called Noelle Realist Dreamer where I'm talking more about what the big goals were and how I'm pulling them off and like detailed plans of how we sold everything, how we made it all happen. I'll put a link in the description if that feels like something you'd also like to follow. But this channel will continue to be artwork, creative inspiration, and really hoping to find some international things that I can share with you guys. The next video, I actually want to go a little bit deeper also into creating for creating's sake, about not creating for the reaction from other people, but trusting that there's this bigger picture that you're a part of, that the art you're creating, the stories you're writing, the quilt that you're making, all of it is beyond the moment you're in, and how time doesn't really matter, the feedback, and why that can be so empowering as an artist or creative if we can look at it and shift our perspective on it. So if nobody's responding to your art, to not let that discourage you. That's my big message. So if that's something you want to come along for, please subscribe. I invite you to join me in my next video, and I'm so glad you're here. Have a great day. Bye.